Good morning, Salem Casters. It is Wednesday. It is the 9th of June, 2021, and we are continuing our study of the book of Acts, and I hope you had a wonderful week as we continue to learn about God's Word in the book of Acts. As you remember, last week our hero, Paul, was arrested and taken to the Roman officials. Immediately upon telling them that he was a Roman citizen, they released him and took him back to the Sanhedrin, where they were there to question him again. And this is what he said. So we're right at the Sanhedrin, and this is where we pick up. Are you ready? Here we go. Exciting. Okay. Paul looked straight at the Sanhedrin and said, "My brothers, I have fulfilled my duty to God and to all God's good conscience to this day." At this, the high priest Ananias ordered those standing near Paul to strike him on the mouth. Then Paul said to him, "God will strike you, you whitewashed wall. You sit there to judge me according to the law, and yet you yourself violate the law by commanding that I be struck." He's not afraid. Now remember, these are the same people that crucified Jesus. These are the same people who sent him out to persecute others. And now they're persecuting him, and they have struck him, and he is cursing them. Or at least Ananias. Those who were standing near Paul said, "How dare you insult God's high priest?" Paul replied, "Brothers, I did not realize that he was a high priest, for it is written, 'Do not speak evil about the ruler of your people.'" Then Paul, knowing that some of them were Sadducees and others Pharisees, called out the Sanhedrin. "My brothers, I am a Pharisee, descended from Pharisees. I stand on trial because of the hope of the resurrection of the dead." When he said this, a dispute broke out between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the assembly was divided. The Sadducees said that there is no resurrection, and that there are neither angels nor spirits, but the Pharisees believed all these things. Notice how he's stirring the pot and getting them to fight among themselves. Kind of causing a distraction. Don't worry about me. I'll just fight among yourselves. There was a great uproar, and some of the teachers of the law who were Pharisees stood up and argued vigorously. "We find nothing wrong with this man," they said. "What if a spirit or an angel had spoken to him?" The dispute became so violent that the commander was afraid Paul would be torn into pieces by them. He ordered the troops to go down and take him away by force. Learn to talk, Matt. He ordered the troops to go down and take him away from them by force and bring him into the barracks. So they were not only fighting one another, they were tearing him apart. And finally, the commander had him taken away from those crazy people. The following night, the Lord stood near Paul and said, "Take courage. As you have testified about me in Jerusalem, you must also testify in Rome." Jesus stood near Paul and said, "Take courage. You've testified about me in Jerusalem, now you're going to have to go to Rome." He has been sent to the mission field of Rome. Not to be thwarted by the Roman government, the Sadducees, what wonderful, religious, good, faithful people these are as they plot to kill Paul. It's hard to, if you can't laugh about this, you cry. And the thing is, when anybody, any person feels that they are on God's side, that somehow thou shalt not kill is, well, that's just sort of put aside because I'm doing God's work. God is the same today, tomorrow, and yesterday. And thou shalt not kill means thou shalt not kill. But here they are. They plotted to conspired and plotted to kill Jesus, and now they're going to do the same thing from Paul. The next day, the morning, some Jews formed a conspiracy and bound themselves by an oath not to eat or drink until they had killed Paul. Fanatic nutcases. More than 40 men were involved in this plot. They went to the chief priests and elders and said, "We have taken a solemn oath not to eat anything until we have killed Paul. Now then, you and the Sanhedrin petitioned the commander to bring him before you, and on the pretext of wanting more accurate information about the case, we are ready to kill him before he gets here. Tell him to bring him back. Bring him back and we'll just kill him." Oh, now Jesus himself is sending him to Rome, but these jokers want to murder him because, if you can't convince them, you've got to kill him. All in the name of God, of course, because, once you're sure that you're on God's side, you can do whatever you want, and that's never been true, folks. Never, ever been true. Love your neighbor as yourself. But the son of Paul's sister heard of this plot and went into the barracks and told Paul. Then Paul called one of the centurions and said, take this young man to the commander. He has something to tell him. So I took him to the commander. The centurion said, Paul, the prisoner, sent me for you and asked me to bring you to this young man. Try this again. Paul, the prisoner, sent for me and asked me to bring you this young man to you because he has something to tell you. The commander took the young man by the hand, drew him aside and asked, "What is it that you want to tell me?" He said, "Some Jews have agreed to ask you to bring Paul before the Sanhedrin tomorrow on the pretext of wanting more and accurate information about him. Don't give in to them, because more than 40 of them are waiting in the ambush for him. They will have taken an oath not to eat or drink until they have killed him. They are ready now, waiting for your consent to their request." Their plot is revealed. The commander dismissed the young man with this warning: "Do not tell anyone that you have reported this to me." Well, yeah, I would think that would be kind of common sense, Don't go telling everybody that you have destroyed the plot of the people who are going to try to kill Paul. They might just turn against you. Better to keep it quiet. Makes sense to me. Then Paul was transferred to Caesarea. When he called two of the centurions and ordered them, "Get ready to detach 200 soldiers, 20 horsemen, and 200 spearmen to go to Caesarea at 9 tonight. Provide horses for Paul so that he may be taken safely to Governor Felix." Okay, get this. 40 people have made an oath not to eat or drink until they have killed Paul. But now they have a detachment of 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, and 200 spearmen to go to Caesarea at 9 to provide horses so that Paul may be taken safely to Governor Felix. So Paul now has, about 500 people around him to protect him. And you know what? It doesn't say in the scriptures. Did those 40 men die of no food or water because they couldn't get to Paul? Or was the oath just spouting, blowing smoke, what they say, just saying nothing. My guess is that they did die of starvation or thirst. But they made it. Okay. He wrote letters as follows. Claudius Lysias, to His Excellency Governor Felix, greetings. This man was seized by the Jews, and they were about to kill him. But I came with my troops and rescued him, for I had learned that he is a Roman citizen. I wanted you to know why they were accusing him, so I brought him to their Sanhedrin. I found that the accusation had to do with questions about their law, but there was no charge against him that deserved death or imprisonment. When I was informed of a plot to be carried out against the man, I sent him to you at once. I also ordered his accusers to present to you their case against him. So soldiers carrying out their orders took Paul with them during the night and brought him as far as Amphipolis. The next day they let the cavalry go on with him while they returned to the barracks. When the cavalry arrived in Caesarea, they delivered the letter to the governor and handed Paul over to them. The governor read the letter and asked what province he was from, learning he was from Cilicia. Well, I will hear the case of when your accusers get here. Then he ordered that Paul be kept under guard in Herod's palace. Well, that was one foiled plot to murder, but it still goes on. We're going to find out more about that in Acts chapter 4 next week. Stay tuned. Same bat time, same bat station. It is kind of interesting to find out that here is Paul using his citizenship, doing whatever he can, and he knows he needs to go to Rome. Okay, what better way is to have Romans transport him? So while he's at the palace, in the prison, not the best place in the palace, he has several things to do there as well. So join us next week as we continue our story about Paul, and I hope you've had a good insight to what's happening. And remember that love your neighbor as yourself. Even if you think you're right, that does not give you the leave to sin, the leave to treat people badly. Even though you think you're right, it doesn't give you the right to hurt anyone for any reason. Justice will be done, and there's processes, but that doesn't mean we have to be mean. It doesn't mean we have to be spiteful, and it certainly doesn't mean we have to plot against people. That's totally anti-Christian. It's not what God ever meant for us to do. When he said, "Thou shalt not kill, love your neighbor as yourself," he meant that. Okay, well, you have a good week this week, and may God bless you in all that you do. And we will see you again tomorrow for our daily devotion. Sunday for worship is going to be a good day because we've got new members coming in, scholarships, and recognition of our graduates. All good stuff. So we'll talk to you tomorrow. God bless.